Hello, Daha here from Timeslip Softworks. Welcome to the new year and to the 45th development video for Vigilantes, which covers the changes in the first half of the version 23 update. Version 23 isn't available just yet, but will be in around 2 weeks. Before covering the changes, I'd like to make you aware of an issue which affects version 22. The issue relates to our caddy, and it will cause the game to crash when your relationship with him reaches plus or minus 10. Now the issue has been fixed, and the fix will be deployed with version 23, but for now you can avoid the issue by swapping out our caddy when you reach the threshold and using a different ally. What you're seeing here is a new map. It's the 41st map overall, and it's the third map in the old industrial area. One of the largest thing which has been added in this update is the addition of enemy traits. Now you could think of enemy traits as simplified perks for the enemy team. Some of these traits are given to enemies of a certain type by default, such as the Church of the Final Exodus Fanatic will also always start with the fearsome trait, whereas other traits are randomly assigned to enemies, and the higher the enemy level and the greater the danger level of the district, the higher the chance that a trait will be randomly assigned. There are 6 traits so far: fearsome, terrifying, which are pretty much the equivalent of fearsome presence and terrifying presence for the player team. There's melee resistance and firearm resistant, and these give a 30% reduction to the relevant damage types. So if you attack a melee resistant enemy with close combat, you'll do 30% less damage than you would otherwise. There's also martial artist and marksman, and these perks provide a chance to hit bonus to close combat and ranged attacks respectively. It's expected that there will be quite a few more traits in the game. The idea for now is just to get the basic system in place and to add a couple, but hopefully as time goes on, I expect to add more. Traits have a chance to be revealed, and to work through an example, let's say this character is melee resistant. Anytime you inflict close combat or melee damage to this character, there is a chance based on your party's highest surveillance skill that the trait will be revealed, and you'll know what it is. If you look at it just at the present, you know that they have a trait. It's enemy unknown, something unusual about this character, but you don't know what it is yet. That means a trait that you haven't revealed, and as you reveal it, you'll be able to check out what it is and make your plans accordingly. It's likely there will also be a perk which will allow you to either reveal maybe 1 or 2 traits per turn, or to reveal them all at the beginning of the encounter. So that's something that's likely to come also. Now the main reason behind this trait system is it allows enemies to provide a more varied challenge. If this character here has a baseball bat and a martial artist, you're probably going to want to take them out pretty quickly with a ranged weapon, because they're likely to do a lot of damage to you when they get closer. So it provides it'll mean enemies, rather than just being kind of standard enemies, will have different abilities, and this will have repercussions on how you should deal with them, or the most effective way to deal with them. Another thing I would just like to show you, and I'm not 100% sure if this will work, but I'll just try it. Now you may remember these environment objects. They were added in a couple of updates ago. Enemies initially could target them with ranged weapons, but they can also target them with melee weapons now. So I'll just see if I can get this to happen. I think it should happen with this last character to act here. Okay. So there was a bit of a sequence of events there, but the character triggered the fuel barrel. Then she was caught by an attack of opportunity as she moved away. They will attempt, for the most part, to move away to avoid the damage themselves. So they'll try to land you, to inflict the damage on you and get out of there before the environment object is activated. Another thing, boss fights will now take place in the correct maps rather than just a random map. Previously, it would just load up whatever map, so now you'll fight them in the headquarters map for each faction. Another thing is the addition of, there's better information here on what the attacks do. So rather than just kind of randomly kind of like wondering what they are, looking at the AP, this will tell you what they do. So the snap you can see is 4 AP and is accuracy of 100%. The normal attack is 5 AP but is 33% more accurate. This doesn't necessarily mean 33%. I think it's 33% more chance to hit, not 33. Like so, if it's 60, you'll have an 80% chance rather than like 60 plus 33. That's something. I guess it's a small quality of life addition, which probably should have happened before now, but at least it's here now. The last thing I'd like to cover here is a notification will flash on the character's first turn if they have unspent skill or stat points. So this might be useful if you encounter an ally relatively late in the game and you don't realize that they have skill and stat points, and the encounter is incredibly difficult as a result. So that's just another small thing that's been added. I'll just return home to show you the rest of the additions. There's a new trauma kit. The trauma kit Mark III. It's got better healing than the previous versions. Requires crafting skill 45, surgery level 2, and it requires 3 trauma kit Mark II and 1 medical supplies to make. A new perk has also been added. Let's just see here. Now you might notice that this character has 2 equipped slots. This character is 3. This is the effect of the new perk. It's called Combat Rigging. I'll just go into the character just so you can get a quick look at it. Here we go. So it requires utility 8 and you gain an additional equipment slot. Now this will be very useful for a medic character, a character that has to automatically use up one of their equipment slots to keep a healing item on hand. So it could be very useful for that type of character, or if you want a character to carry grenades or multiple weapons. So it requires high utility, so I guess it's kind of set up primarily for medic type characters or utility type characters. Another thing that has changed is that firearms can now be unloaded, so I think it'll put them in the home inventory. So we notice 117, and now we can unload this weapon, and we notice there's 123 there now. Useful obviously if you're looting a lot of weapons and you're running low on ammo. It'll allow you to retrieve the bullets quickly. And one last thing very quickly. Now there is an issue that can happen. If I add an additional key binding, it actually messes up the binding. It will bind the previous and the current binding, key binding, to this. So let's say for example I add an extra binding, I need an extra key for something. This will show up as C plus I. This will be I plus left control. So this will happen if I add an additional key. Now, so I've added a button there, reset keys, just to allow you to quickly reset them back to default rather than having to reset every one of them. So it's just it's there just in case more keys are required. And apart from that, there's been a number of bugs fixed, and as I said, version 23 roughly 2 weeks from now. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.